Have you ever successfully got over a crush? How? Sometimes when you actually get to know a person, you realize that you had an unrealistic or idealized idea of them. I remember how many times I have been in love in my life, totally convinced that I would only ever have feelings for this one person. And then remember how in each and every one of those cases I ended up getting over them. There are a lot of beautiful, interesting, smart, wonderful people in this world. And the only way to meet the ones that are interested in you is to move on from the ones that aren't. There's a book called How to Fall Out of Love which details all the way you 2 can get rid of that pesky crush. Basically, it gives you tools to change your obsessive thinking pattern about that particular individual. Behavioral modification does work. You shoot your shot knowing it won't hit target. Do it anyway to get it over with. Then you can move on forever. Easy. You tell them you like them. Get rejected. Wallow in sadness for a couple of weeks and then poof. Crush is gone. Absolutely. It's mainly just time and focusing on other things. The more you do it, the easier it gets. Many times. And it's one of the ways I get over breakups too. I remind myself that they aren't perfect. They have flaws. It might seem rude, but I'll point out the things that annoyed, bothered me about them. I remember things they did that were toxic or mean. And that shines a different perspective on them. I had a big crush on a girl and even went out on some dates. One of which was a Valentine's Day weekend sleepover date. Somehow I didn't even get a kiss. Wild, but I went all out. Spent over $100 making her cookies that she could eat vegan. And had many other dietary restrictions, and made her some really thoughtful gifts. Long story. But anyways, afterwards she had been kinda mean. But I ignored it. When we broke things off I was very saddened since we honestly were very compatible and had nearly everything, interest-wise, in common. I still felt like she was perfect. Boot. Once I really started thinking about her, I went from that to realizing she wasn't very bright. And she was quite childish and disrespectful. She wasn't very nice to me and a lot of her comments were actually pretty belittling. That made me realize that I'm much better off without her. And that she's only human. There's no reason to waste my emotions crying over her. I suggest doing that. Remember your worth. Your crush is just a person. And they are not as perfect as you think they are. Once you start thinking about their flaws, you might come to find that you dodged a bullet like I did. Good luck. She got married and pregnant. At some point you gotta admit, you're probably not the guy. Way too many. Usually. My perspective changes and they stop appearing attractive to me over time. If the scoop of ice cream on your cone falls off, get a new one instead of crying over the fallen scoop. Like they say, there's no use crying over a spilt ice cream scoop. Except that things didn't work out, which is one of the harder things to do. Then find better things to do. Hang out with friends. Go to parties. Listen to songs you like. Have fun. See how life is still enjoyable without them. Or decide to spend the time you'd spend thinking about them on something new and worthwhile. Catch up with your family. Learn a new hobby. Do something that will make yourself proud of you. Build up your self-confidence. Your skill set. Your current friendships. Edit. It can take a while to reach the stage where you actually have the motivation to do those things. Don't get me wrong. I've spent many nights crying myself to sleep and watching Netflix in the dark of my room. Eating an endless amount of junk. You don't know them. You know an idealized version of them you've created in your head. Once I internalized that, I stopped having crushes. I once was that dude who was the best friend trying to climb out of it. I am a guy. I had a crush for 8 years. Since I was 11 years old to 19. It was such a hard part, but you guys. Honest advice. Work on you first. Learn who you are. Learn what you want out of life. Love yourself. It is one of the greatest challenges ever. But when you do, that significant other of your life will literally just walk in your life. Learn from the mistakes and the time wasted. It takes time and lots of work, but it pays. I am married to the person who I was meant to be with for such a long time. If they don't accept you or notice you, just keep moving forward and focus on you, not them. Easily. I crushed on her because I thought she cared about me too. When she did something that showed me differently, I instantly stopped liking her. I don't understand how people can like someone who doesn't like them. Wanting to. Sure. But not crushing, or liking. Used her as motivation for self-betterment. Shot my shot. Didn't go down anywhere near how I imagined. I guess I was making up signals in my head. Made things awkward because we had to work together. Yeah. I made that mistake as well. But anyway. Felt like for a couple of weeks. Dropped the ball at work a lot more. Made mistakes etc. Boss pulled me aside because they had noticed I was pretty down. Anyway, after he hyped me up a bit and suggested that my job wasn't in jeopardy but that he was disappointed and explained that I was making a lot more mistakes and didn't seem to want to be there. I decided enough was enough and started working on myself and being happy with myself. Started a diet. Joined a sports team. Volunteered for a senior role in one of my other passions. Lost like 10 kilograms pre-lockdown. Still kinda get down on myself occasionally, but I found out she isn't the person I thought she was, so I'm over her. If anything, I'm using her rejection as a platform for self-improvement. Not so much to show her but to show myself that I can do better than be mediocre. I dunno if this helps you at all, but take from it what you will. It was just nice to rant. I use my imagination. I am a guy. So I try to find any and all resemblances in her face to her father. Then imagine her as him. I have a pretty vivid imagination. So this works well for me. For me, what helped was learning that the guy wasn't all that great a person. I was in high school at the time and had a huge crush on this guy. We had tons of things in common. But eventually I realized we really had nothing that mattered. To make things even better, he started to say things that sounded borderline psychopathic, killing small animals. Doing stuff because it would hurt people. I'm pretty sure he was faking it because high school and because he wanted to seem cool and edgy. But it didn't work. I'm still friends with them. But what I did to get over them was think about the bad in them. Even if I couldn't find any. I knew he was hurting me. I'm a female, I knew it would never work out. We've recently been fighting a lot and that's what led me to believe it'll be easier staying as friends. I was constantly questioning if I even still liked him at this point. There were also many reasons why I shouldn't have. Or couldn't have been with him anyway. I looked into the long term and with all the commotion going on. I told myself that he's my friend only and that I will only end up getting hurt. It takes me a long time to fall in love or even look at anyone in a romantic way because I've been really heartbroken before. And if I ever do fall in love again, it's close to impossible to get out of it. But these were what I did. And I successfully got over a crush who I'm still extremely close with as a friend today. Sometimes. It just takes time. Sometimes. You just have to get to know them. A lot of crushes happen because people fall in love with their idea of who someone is. Only to find they don't like who they actually are. The girl I crushed on hard in high school but was too much of a chicken to ask out. Even after I got married, I always kind of wondered what would have happened if I had gone with her to hang out alone at her house back on that summer day in 1996. Good Lord, what the was wrong with me? Then this past summer she got arrested for stealing pain meds from the residents in her nursing home, and then I was done. Focusing more on me. My interests. And what makes me happy. Time. Generally it takes me a year to get over a crush. Give or take. But there's truth to the saying that the best way to get over someone is to get under someone else. When I finally stopped looking for love, love found me. Yes. Time. Deleting everything I had about her. Insta. Chat and never seen her for a year. Finally I got over her, ahaha. Yes. I got over my childhood best friend. I liked him for nearly 3 years. I just accepted that things will not work out. And side by side I reminded myself that I was lucky enough to know a person like him and to be able to experience such a good friendship. Though it took time, but the moment by heart did not skip a beat, or I did not get chills on hearing his name. I knew that I was over him. And you know, it felt nice. P.S. He still is one of my closest friends. I realized that I was never destined to be in a relationship. So I moved on. I invited a crush to come to our training, we do medieval sport combat, so I could spend some time getting to know her in a good setting. She had a ton of fun and kept coming back. But it was clear that she was only interested in me as a friend. I was a little disappointed. But I refocused on her as a buddy instead of a crush. I just started calling her dude and the rest fell into place. I find the way I address people has a lot to do with how I view them. I've since bonded with another over our love for Axes. I've also invited her to come to our combat training when the quarantine is up. Worst case scenario here is that I have a well-trained army of Valkyrie to come with me to Wolin Festival when it's open again.